Hey guys, this is Vinod here. In this video, let's discuss something on JSONP, JSON with padding. So first, let's create a file, which is an HTML file. I'm going to save this as ex01.html and add a HTML template. Let's say JSONP demo. So the best way to understand JSONP is to write a script here and then try to access that same data from the JSONP or from the internet. So first let's create a script, and I'm going to create a function here. Let's call it as callback, and this function is supposed to take some data and then just print that on the console. So I'm going to write one more script where I'm going to call this particular function called callback. So now I'm going to supply callback of, let's say 100, 1000. Let's save this and open in the browser. And then let's go to the developer console, and you'll see that there is this 1000 being printed over here. So what just happened is that in one of the block we wrote a function, and in another block we're just calling that. Now this is the most important one, because we will be replacing this part of the script from internet, whereas we will be defining how to handle the data in this particular block. So as an enhancement to this, let's go and put this in a separate file. So I'm going to create a new file and I'm going to call it as ex01.js. And I'll extract this part and place it over here. Obviously, we don't have this particular call, so we'll just say that this particular script is referencing to ex01.js. So we have a function definition that's going to process the data, but the call is coming from this particular JS file. So once again, just to ensure that this data is coming here correctly, so we're going to just change the data, and I'm going to go give here name is Vinod, city is Bangalore. So when I execute this now on the server or on the browser, I just reload this and you'll see that I received that. So what we have here is a function definition, but the actual call comes from another file. Now imagine this particular JavaScript file is supposed to come from a server. For example, if I go back to, let's say, vinod.co/rest/contacts.jp.php. Now as you can see that I have a callback and a function. So for example, I'm going to copy this code and I'm going to go place this right here. So as you can see that there is a callback, a method call, which has an array of data. So now if I save this, this is a file that is retrieving that particular data. So when I go and reload this now, where earlier I was getting a dummy data, now as you can see that there is an array of objects with a lot of objects containing some data. As you can see, there is some city and state, or other city, first name, last name, some information. So this is now coming from this particular file. Now what happens instead of this? So let's go and delete this particular file, ex01.js, and then make this refer to my URL. For example, I'll say here http vinod.co/rest/contacts.jp.php. Now as you can see, I'm making a request to a server-side resource that sends me a data, basically sends me a function call, and that function call is going to be handled by this particular function. So basically we have a function on the client side, but the invocation of the client side function comes from the server. So I'm going to go back, reload the same thing. As you can see, I'm able to hit the server and get that. So for example, I'm going to reload this once to show you that it's coming from ex01.html is retrieving the data from contacts.php here. So as you can see, we are going to go and get the data from the server, where server would send some kind of method call. Now sometimes when you try to make a request, because the URL does not change here, sometimes the browsers put them in a cache. So the JSONP mechanism allows you to supply a name for the callback. So I'm going to go put a question mark here and say callback equals to, let's say for example, CB. Now if I execute this, the response from the server comes back with a call to a function called CB, and I don't have that function here. So let's go and test it out. So I'm going to go execute this. It comes back, but I see an error over here. So let's go to the console to see what's the error. It says that reference error CB is not defined, and that's because when we made a request over here, the response that came has a function call for CB and it supplies a data. However, on this particular HTML, I don't have that the function. So what now we can do is we can redefine this the callback as CB. Now obviously you would like to have a function that actually is going to change every time I reload this page, so that is not going to be cached. So what we're going to do is we're going to take probably a timestamp or some random number. So I can use the math.random function and generate this name and use the same name for this one. So for example, I'm going to use here a var num equals to math.random of, let's say for example, some 1000 or 10,000 or maybe even more, but then we will use this num as a prefix or a suffix to this particular CB. We will also would like to round this because it's going to be a number between something like 10,000 or whatever the number that we have here. So let's just go and check this out, what number we got. Let's just type here console.log num, and when we reload over here, we have some number. So obviously this number can be rounded off to something using math.round. And now I can say var callback method name equals to CB underscore plus num. Now this is the variable that's going to hold the callback function name. So I'm going to go type this to see what is that function that's going to look like. And each time I execute, as you can see, it's coming with a different name. And every time it's coming back with a different name, now I would like to use this name for my callback. So I'll take this callback and I'll put this instead of CB, that particular function name. So the request will come back with this particular function call, and I don't have that yet. So I'm going to reload. It's going to be probably an error, or so when we go to the request, you'll see that the request came back with some function name. I guess there is. Let's just go and check what happens over here. So as you can see, the callback was never sent because the var stored this in probably a local scope, and we're going to go use this as something like a window.callback name. In fact, this is not being a script, so we would like to generate this dynamically. So we'll just leave this for a minute. So this is the callback name that we have now, and that callback name, I'm going to create a function. So the function name, now it's going to be window of callback name or callback method name. So basically we're going to store this method name that got generated as a variable in the window, which is going to point to this particular function. And the next thing that we would like to do is to generate this particular script. So we can say document.create element of script, and that's going to create a script element. So I can say here, for example, var sc equals to. Now if you want to check what exactly is that var, you can say console.log sc, and that should show you that there is a script tag. So let's just reload this and go to the console. So we shouldn't be having this var here, so we just create a window of this. So let's go and reload. As you can see, there is a script tag generated with this particular SC. I can give it an ID if I want, or more importantly, I can say sc.src equals to http://vinode.co/contacts.jp.php question mark callback equals to, and now I can use this variable because that's a script. So the variable is callback method name. And now if I just print that on the console, you will see that now we have a script, or rather the script tag with src corresponding to, you can see that we have this particular URL which says cb underscore. That underscore is not shown over here, but that's going to be an underscore. So now that we have this callback being sent, so if I'm going to copy this and open this in the browser, you'll see that it's going to go and get me back a callback cb underscore so and so. Now this is a function that we already have defined, and that function is going to just output that on the console. So effectively, when we make a request, you should see that it's going to come on the screen on this particular console. However, we just have created a variable sc, but it's never been part of the actual document or window. So we're going to go type here document.body. Probably append child, and then we say sc. So what this is going to do is it's going to take the script tag and appends to the body of the current document. So now when we reload this, okay, so body, let's go and check what is there in the document.body, because I guess at this point in time that body is not being processed yet, so we'll have to do all these things in the window.onload event handler. So we're going to just type window.onload equals to a function, and in this function we're going to go paste all this code. So which means by the time this function is invoked, the document body is already ready, so we should be having append child of sc. Hopefully this is going to work. So let's go and reload this, and there you go. So if you also check the inspect element at this point in time, you can see that in the body we have a script src equals to, we got this particular script with that src. Now obviously later point in time, once this data has been retrieved, we don't need this script anymore. So what we can generally do is we can give it an ID for this. So sc.id equals to, let's say for example, script underscore, or probably whatever the method name that we had for callback method name. And then once this is added, we can get this and then delete the same thing. So to do that, we'll say document.get element by ID of whatever the ID we have. So this sc.id, that itself I can use. So I can say sc.id, and then we'll simply say remove. Now that should actually remove the element. So you would see that element for a while, and it pulls the data, calls that particular function which is being referred by this function call, and then it's going to just delete that particular the element. So let's clear this. Let's go clear the console, clear the network, and just going to go reload this once more, and probably you can see that the data has come. But if I go back to the element section, you can see that in the body there is no script, because the script has been created and deleted. For example, I can just reload this once, and you can see that you should see an element and it should go away in a minute. Alright, I'm not able to see that right now because it's just going out. So I'm going to go reload one more time. Alright, that came up and went back, and we have the data right here. So that's how you would be able to use JSONP. So JSONP has absolutely nothing to do with Ajax, or it doesn't require any special softwares like jQuery. However, with jQuery, things would be easier. Thanks for watching this video.